is sponsored by Augie's Locker Room. Augie's features the largest collection of Notre Dame football memorabilia and gifts, including rare and hard-to-find items.
Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Tim O'Malley with Tim Priester of Irish Illustrated and John Bryce of Football Scoop. And today, during Marcus Freeman's press conference, we got a little bit of sobering injury news. I did not see coming that Mitchell Evans, Notre Dame standout tight end, is out for the season with a torn ACL. We'll get back to that in a minute. Benjamin Morrison and Cam Hart are expected to play at corner, which is great news going on the road against Clemson. Before we get going to the rest of the topics, I just want to point out Mitchell Evans tearing an ACL on October 28th. If you want to think back to last year, Eli Raridon tearing it October 5th, how long it's taken him to get back into late October. Kevin Bauman last September was kind of back early in August. It's a rough situation for Mitchell Evans because it's a late season ACL tear.
Tough break for Notre Dame's tight end crew as well. But Mitchell Evans having a great year. Certainly this, we were talking about, might he want to look at the NFL draft? This precludes that from happening most likely. They do still have a guy named Stays at tight end for them. That can do some really good things. And obviously up the ante with Flanagan. You certainly up the ante with Raridon. Marcus Freeman was asked whether Raridon is ready to start catching passes. We're going to find out here real quickly.
And I think that with Mitchell Evans, it was a little different a year ago or going through this year with Eli Raridon because that was a second ACL tear and they had used the graft procedure on the first one. He felt like that had helped him recuperate much more quickly. So we'll have to see if that's the case for Mitchell Evans, but at least this is coming just days before the start of November. So he gets the final 2 months of this year, and then going into the onset of preseason camp in 2024, he'll be right at 9 months removed by the time Notre Dame opens its August camp. But you still I thought they were coming out of their most complete game from the tight end group in this win against Pitt because we saw Holden Stays involved. We saw Mitchell Evans with some more big plays, Flanagan with the late touchdown. Notre Dame is tight end U for a reason, but it's going to need every ounce of that tight end U for the final 3 games of this season.
Not surprisingly, Marcus Freeman talked about how much better Clemson looks on film than a 4-4 record, and that is true at times. That Clemson has a very good defense, and it occurred to me while we were walking out. 4th road game for Notre Dame against the ACC. 4 very good defenses. When has that happened against the ACC before? That Notre Dame would play 4 very good defenses on the road, and Freeman touched on a little bit today. Just kind of cleaning up some things he saw. There were issues at Duke with the pre-snap penalties, with Louisville with the turnovers and the atmosphere. NC State did have pre-snap penalties as too, so they do have to clean up things that we have not seen at home that are presented on the road.
Yeah, and as it relates to Clemson, I know they have 4 losses, which is unusual for all of us. We haven't seen that in 14, 15 years, whatever it is now.
Remember when?
Yeah, but it's not like they're getting blown out. They are, and this is why I've been sounding the warning about Clemson. I realize that they're probably very demoralized at 4-4. All their dreams for the season are gone. But they're certainly capable. They're not getting blown out of games. They lost by 21 to Duke, and they completely outstatted them. They won the stat game again this past weekend. It's just that, when the game's on the line, they have not played very well, but they are that close. And Notre Dame's a good football team. I think Notre Dame is the better football team. We've been saying that all along. But if you don't play up to your capabilities and Clemson comes out, the one thing that Clemson has going for them more than anything is that they're playing Notre Dame. Right. From a motivational standpoint, they can't reach their dreams with 4 losses, but they can against Notre Dame.
And I think that Clemson, frankly, doesn't have an identity, guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And we know that this Notre Dame team is led defensively and has a defensive identity. But I think week by week, and we saw it again this week against Pittsburgh, this is a Notre Dame offense getting closer to establishing a true identity. And we know it wants to be run-led, but we're now seeing it take some more shots downfield. I think that's very valuable on all levels. But I do think that Clemson's in trouble from the fact that it does not have a true offensive identity. I don't know how well the chemistry is going there among the staff, and it's tough to hold it together when you do face adversity. And then Will Shipley's in concussion protocol right now. I don't think that can be overstated as well.
Before we get to Notre Dame's offense, let's keep it with coaching staff related news, because Marcus Freeman was asked today, at some point, and they didn't use the word paid, but at some point you're going to have to pay Mike Mickens more because he's doing a fantastic job as a position coach at quarterback. And Freeman was asked today, do you see his career in the future as a coordinator, do you see that coming up very soon in his career?
Yeah, he gave him a sparkling review, talked about how he prepares his own cornerbacks, just his general concept of defense. It was a glowing review. It kind of had some indications to it like this might be something that he's going to have to consider in a short period of time.
Yeah, and look, he said, hey, that's why I already made him the passing game coordinator for us on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think there's any question. Certainly out there in coaching circles, when we talk to people, Mike Mickens has been a guy honored on our Football Scoop Minority Rising Stars list in the past, but coaches around the country, they take notice of Mike Mickens. They know the fact that he not only found Sauce Gardner and saw it in him, but truly developed him, and Sauce has talked about to this day. And then we heard Marcus Freeman today reference Mike Mickens' eval skills. There are people on campus here who will tell you that Mike Mickens is the best evaluator on the staff any side of the ball. That always helps, especially if you rise to a defensive coordinator position or co-defensive coordinator position. If you're that good of an evaluator, you know exactly what you want to stock on your shelves.
Offensively, I want to touch on two themes, and Tim, you asked about both of them, I think. The wide receivers, Marcus Freeman said, I believe we have a skilled group, a talented group. I want them to be able to play as fast as they can play. There's obviously a caveat there. Might have challenged them too much along the way, especially when they were injured going forward. And number two was, he said, we want to have more plays at a level 10 than too many plays at level 7. I thought those were both interesting comments about learning and maybe not dumbing down, but maybe simplifying things for those that need it simplified.
Well, and going into this past game with Pittsburgh, he talked about, reducing it to 3 or 4 things that they can focus on.
Right.
And I think we saw a reflection of that. 15 targets of the wide receivers, 11 catches. That's 72.3%. It was like 57% going into that game with the wide receivers. So you had mentioned it, Tim, I thought in Irish Illustrated Overtime with John the other night that,
the guys that were missing actually helped the play.
Right.
In my opinion, Marcus Freeman didn't say this.
The injuries to Jaden Thomas and Jaden Greathouse helped other guys come along a little bit faster. Rico Flores being the best example. So now you got guys coming back. And again, Marcus Freeman mentioned about the wide receivers blocking the other night. He said was outstanding, probably the best of the year. And so it's starting to come around. Now we saw Jaden Thomas pull up lame on a deep ball or a little bit gimpy, so hopefully he didn't have a setback. But his block on Audric Estime's first touchdown was outstanding. They are starting to put it together both in terms of targets and the blocking aspect of it, and part of it has to do with maybe simplifying things a little bit.
And I watched the TV copy on Sunday again and went back, and you even see Tobias Merriweather later in the game coming back to get in some action and throw a block on a play downfield past the sticks. I thought that was very valuable. And to the point you all bring up about Marcus saying, I want us to be able to do a finite number of things at 10 rather than 7. I think that ties back into the conversation we've been having in this show today, guys. Offensive identity, and when you do a bunch of things at 10, all of a sudden that's your identity. Jared Parker said weeks ago, when I look at film, I want to see our tendencies, and we darn sure better have tendencies, because that means that's what you can do and believe in.
We'll have much more this week from that press conference, but just as a little teaser, Tim Priester did ask about tempo. Marcus Freeman gave a unique answer, I thought, but you could read all about that as Notre Dame leads into Clemson week at irishillustrated.com.